is an independent force that exists outside of people, that acts upon people. I really believe that. I've experienced it. I've a lot. And it's obvious. And what vessel do they choose? The weak. It's weak men and women who are instruments of evil. The weaker the leader, the more evil that leader will
Tucker
be.
Carlson and Joe Rogan sat down and had an amazing conversation that was so good that everybody spent the week talking about it. And it was so, and matter of fact, they had this conversation. When was this? Somewhere like last week. I want to feel like it was last week, but I might be wrong. Maybe it was Monday. I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyway, the conversation was so good that it was last week. Sorry, guys. That people still can't stop talking about it. People are reacting to it. And I'm noticing that a lot of people are getting angry about nothing, what I would consider to be nothing. And this conversation that these two had has sparked almost total anger from people like Ben Shapiro, Jeremy Boring. I mean, I thought it would die down, but it's not dying down. It's not dying down. In fact, you have a lot of people that are basically, I don't know, maybe throwing Tucker out to dry because he doesn't always go with the status quo, you know, even if it is the status quo narrative of the right. This man has spent his life looking for the truth. I'm not saying that he's perfect, right? Let's keep it real. I'm not saying that he's perfect. But when you go on this journey that you didn't even realize that you were going on to find out what is going on out here, right? And you're finding it out and everything. And you're like, whoa, some of this stuff doesn't sit well with me. It bothers you, and you might want to talk about the inconvenient truth. And that's what Tucker does. But for some reason, people are worked up. And one of them is Ben Shapiro.
Program that you have this constellation of far leftists who are rather friendly toward Hamas, who generally are isolationist on foreign policy, but they're isolationist on foreign policy mainly because they believe that the United States is a nefarious force in the world. They're sort of Howard Zinn or Noam Chomsky with regard to American foreign policy. America is actually bad. That horseshoe theory has now swung all the way around, and it includes some people on the right. Now, as we'll talk about in a moment,
now, before he goes in, because he's going to dig in to Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and their discussion, okay? But before we get there, you can already tell that Ben is coming at us right now with some sort of animosity. I mean, this is how he's reporting it. What he just said there is that the left thinks that we should stay out of foreign issues because America is just bad. And, you know, that's the only reason why people like Noam Chomsky thinks that, right? But now this is horseshoeing all the way over to the right. The thing is, I've not listened to every speech that Noam Chomsky has made. That's a fact. But the thing is, our foreign policy is not the greatest right now. It simply isn't. We've done some things. We've done some regime changes. I think it's 2024. I think everybody knows this. And it does not benefit the American citizen. Now, we can't go back in the past and change anything, right? But at the same time, we need to learn from the past. And we're getting ready to get involved. We already involved in things that we should not be involved in, but we've actually agitated a lot of this stuff. We have. And so now we're involved in it. And America can't, we have our own problems. Who's going to come help us? Nobody, you know, but this guy makes it seem like it's a moral thing. I don't think America bad. I don't, you know, how can I live here? And I know the citizens, the normie citizens who aren't on Twitter and stuff, and seeing what they're doing in society and everything else, and knowing what living here, being born here has afforded me, right? I didn't have a choice in the matter, but praise God, I was able to go to school, do all kinds of things, okay? So I don't hate the country. Let's keep it real. I love the country enough to be real about the country.
Comes to isolationism, as we've discussed, there are a bunch of different perspectives within the isolationist perspective. There is the we should not get involved in foreign conflicts no matter what perspective because we need the money here at home, which means that you're also in favor of cutting spending by the government on a wide variety of other subjects. There's also an isolationism that suggests
Did you hear what he said? I'm sorry, I keep doing this. Like, I don't want to keep on just making it about this isolationism thing. He's saying that if you cut money for military spending to go to other countries, right, then you should be ready to cut it for like a whole bunch of other things too. No, Ben, what are you doing? Ben really, you know, I don't like to take on what people tell me about somebody, but is Ben really this like hungry for war? Like he really likes war this much?
Whenever America gets involved in foreign conflicts, that tends to taint the United States, not it's about the United States tainting the rest of the world. But there is a theory that has now arisen on the right that there is something deeply malign about the United States, something deeply wrong with the United States. This was made apparent over the weekend. Tucker Carlson was on Joe Rogan's show. Obviously, I'm very friendly with Joe. I think Joe does a great job during his interviews. And there was a clip from this interview that went particularly viral. This is a clip in which Tucker Carlson calls the United States evil for having dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, ending World War II, and then suggests that anyone who would justify that is also evil, which is a very traditionally left-wing perspective.
Calm down. Just get to the clip, right? Like I'm noticing some of the comments y'all tell me, don't cut it off. Guys, I'm just gonna, like I have to, or else I'm not gonna be able to put out the video. Okay, just know that, right? You know what? And while we're at it, I will say, I appreciate dissenting voices and dissenting comments. I do, because that means that you're watching. So I'm grateful that you're watching. Thank you for watching. I love making these videos. And please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if this is your first time here. We have a balanced conversation here, in reality. Okay. And hit the notification bell too, because this is a new channel, so you're more than likely going to get a notification for the episodes when they come out. It'll take some time for it to just automatically do it. So if you hit the bell, you get the notifications. Thank you. Thank you again for watching.
It is not traditionally a particularly right-wing perspective, because most people on the conservative side of the aisle tend to believe that America is a force for good in the world. And as we'll discuss, it turns out that dropping the atomic bomb on Japan was necessary for ending World War II and likely saved millions of lives, both American and Japanese. But here is Tucker.
Well, you could say the same about the atomic bomb, right?
Yes, you could.
And you could say that we have to develop it like Oppenheimer felt before the Nazis did.
I love that. How'd that work? How'd that work?
Well,
I love, by the way, that people on my side, I'll just admit it, on the right, have spent the last 80 years defending dropping nuclear weapons on civilians. Like, are you joking?
Right.
That's just like prima facie evil.
Yeah.
If you can't, if we hadn't done that, then this, that, the other thing, that was actually a great savings. Like, no, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like, it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me. So with that in mind, like, why would you want nuclear weapons? It's like just a mindless, childish sort of intellectual exercise to justify, like, oh no, it's really good because someone else will get it. How about no? How about like spending all of your effort to prevent this from happening?
Okay, actually, what would be childish is
okay. So before Ben goes all the way off, and let me tell you something. I mean, spent 20 minutes digging into Tucker Carlson, like, bro, calm down. But anyway, before Ben goes all the way off, Tucker did not say, he's not saying that like, oh, you're just evil just to be evil. The fact is, he's not. Look. There are things that are done that are necessary, right? But if you praise it, it is evil. And when I say praise it, be clear. Soldiers who fought in World War II and everything, our army, anybody who served, our veterans, anybody serving now, thank you for your service. Watch this, how I can do that. Thank you for your service, right? Not mad at a soldier, but our establishment uses our soldiers to do things that we should not be doing. And so if you care about America, you need to be realistic about that. Now, to come back to the point, dropping a atomic bomb and killing massive amount of people is one of those things that you kind of say like, yeah, we had to do it. It was necessary. It is not something that makes us happy to do. And we hope never to have to do something like that again, because we must learn from the past. But if you're running around saying like, yeah, but we got the biggest bombs and that's why nobody could step to us and X, Y, Z and, all of that, which I've heard people do. That is evil. It is. People died. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, people are going to die. I get it. But like, that is evil. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. It's like, no, we don't like, that's it. Like, we don't need to go any further with that discussion. And let's learn from it. But Ben is mad.
Assume that there are no other players in the world, for example, trying to develop nuclear weapons. The fact is the Nazis were trying to develop nuclear weapons. There was, in fact, a nuclear arms race that was happening at the time. Not only that, as it turns out, the Soviet Union then developed nuclear weapons. And it is mutually assured destruction and nuclear deterrence that has kept the world largely from sinking into another World War III-like mass casualty morass because of the horror.
Well, actually, you know, I would like to think that we are, you know, sorry guys, I don't want to doom and gloom this episode, but we are definitely inching towards that. Okay. And I get it. You know, people were getting their weapons. That's not what he's saying. Okay. That's not what he's just saying. It's not something that should be praised.
Of dropping the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the first place. By the way, when he says things like, how exactly would you justify? Why are we talking about how many lives it would save? It's just wrong to drop the bomb. Well, no, actually, if you end up saving more lives than are cost by the dropping of the atomic bomb, then it is morally justified to drop the atomic bomb. And that happens to be the reality of the situation. Evan Thomas wrote in the Washington Post fairly recently, the commanders of the Japanese armed forces were fanatics. On August 9th, after Washington dropped the second bomb on Nagasaki, Japan's war minister, General Korichika Anami, asked his fellow members of the Supreme War Council, quote, would not it be wondrous for the whole nation to be destroyed like a beautiful flower? The rulers were fatalistic about taking the rest of the nation with them. The 1 million will die for the emperor was a common headline in the state-controlled press, even after Hiroshima and Nagasaki had been destroyed, and after the Russians had even invaded Japanese-occupied Manchuria. 6 members of the Supreme War Council deadlocked 3-3 on whether to surrender. After the dropping of the second bomb, when Emperor Hirohito decided that he wanted to end the debate and surrender, he had to run away from members of his own military who were threatening to kidnap him and who were trying to find the recording of him surrendering before it could be broadcast on radio to destroy the recording. So yes, it turns out that it was necessary. By the way, if we had not dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the alternative was either an amphibious assault that would have cost probably 1 million American lives, or more likely a giant blockade of the island of Japan, including the mass starvation of the civilian population.
Okay, so we don't know that. You know, we could quarterback this all we want. We don't know. We really don't know. And I've heard people say that we don't know what a lot of things could happen. I've heard people say that we didn't even have to do it. Listen, I have not studied that part of World War II, so I don't know. But what he just said there is exactly why, you know, it is a reality. So he's saying that, you know, the emperor, after losing 2 cities, was like, yo, F it. Like, you know, his military or his people were saying, like, let's go ham. But that is how people are going to think. That's actually not, the bomb made them think that. You think that for you dropping it, you're saying that it should have been a demoralizing campaign where it's like, all right, let's just stop. Let's just stop. Because like, we can't do it. No, it can embolden someone to say, you know what? Let's just take out everybody with us. Like, F it, we don't care. So that's, you know, there's a lot of nuance to this. So again, it's not something that should be praised. It's already done. Nobody's worked up about it, but it's not something that should be praised. But Ben is like, Ben's been mad for the past many, many months, right? I keep trying to lend some grace because I understand that there's something that happened. I get it. But the thing is, if Ben had his way, America, all right. So you know what? You guys already know what I'm saying, okay? And I can't do this emotional thing with Ben right now too much because we are joined to Israel at the hip, no matter how you feel about it, right? And that's fine if you like that. That's cool. But the problem is we have problems of our own here,
which have resulted in millions of dead Japanese.
They're really obvious questions you don't want to deal with. And you might arrive at the conclusion that a lot of your most basic assumptions are false and that you've been had. And it's just too destabilizing, maybe.
Right.
Okay, so the idea there from Tucker is that if you start asking questions about Tower 7, then that might bring further questions about, like, if Tower 7 was brought down, for example, by a force inside the United States, then what exactly happened with the other 2 towers and all the rest of this sort of stuff. So what's going on here? I mean, really, it's a serious question. What's going on here with Tucker? So he tries to explain it. He says that he was actually radicalized by 2017. That basically until 2017, he believed a lot of narratives that were told by the government and by the mainstream media. And then after 2016, 2017, when it appeared that the intelligence community was militarized against Donald Trump, this is what radicalized him into basically becoming uber critical of everything.
So, you know what? We can even stop there. Let's just, because it goes on and on. And yes, that is what Tucker said. He said by 2017, he realized that something is not adding up. And you can see that happen to Tucker because Tucker talks a lot differently now. You can see because he was radical. It does radicalize you. Is that the word we're going to use here? Or maybe it just awakens you, right? For Ben to say, number one, what is going on here? What's going on with it's a 3-hour-long conversation, bro. They're just having a conversation. That's what's going on. They're having a conversation about changing their thoughts or learning and growing. It's just that simple. That's what people do. I am definitely not the same person I used to be before 2020. That's a fact. You want to know what radicalized me, if that's the word you want to use? 2020. Seeing what people can do with something so serious as a respiratory virus and to exaggerate it the way they did, and me working in that industry, in that field, and knowing that all of what was being said to us is not, in fact, how you deal with a situation like this. And I don't want to even go any further, right? So yeah, that made me start looking into a lot of different things, And I'm glad that I did. You don't have to, I'm not here to convince anybody about anything, but I'm also not walking around here now. I don't know everything, but as much as I can know, I want to know. I think it's wrong too that the American people are hidden from reality, from the truth. There's a lot of things that other countries know on the world stage. They know so much more than we do. And it's not right. It really isn't right. Our media is certainly against us. I have no other way to explain it. So for Ben Shapiro, who has the Daily Wire, think about it. You don't have to ask all these questions, Ben. You don't have to worry about Tower 7, which, by the way, remember Tower 7, guys? Kind of weird, right? Okay. Anyway, you don't have to ask all these questions. That's cool. But the fact is, you have this conservative media because you didn't trust the mainstream left-wing media, right? Isn't that what your whole point is, to have the Daily Wire? Or, like when you started it, I would think, right? The conservatives needed the truth, didn't they? So why do you get mad at somebody else? And no, just asking questions doesn't make you a critical thinker. Like he's fully angry. And the last point, when he said, he sounds like, the left. This doesn't sound like somebody coming from the right, which is why we need to abolish these labels and just be Americans, okay? Because we are looking at things through lens of divide, of dichotomies. And I can't believe that I'm saying stuff like this and you see how you can change. Because a year ago, I would not have been saying that. I would not have been saying that a year ago. But because the manipulation of now what we'll call the right, the omission of truth, the go along virtue signaling that comes from the right is very, very eye-opening for me. Another eye-opener. And then now I've been let down. I've been very let down. So to me, I'm like, yo, I get it now when people say like, yo, let's just be American and find out what the issue is that each American is having with this country. Let's talk about it in reality. And that's what we do here on Bring the Asteroid. We bring the asteroid of reality and truth. Thank you for watching.